none of these Russian weapon systems fire on the move, and both sides will be adopting a tactic whereby they set up their gun or rocket artillery, and then they fire it, and then as soon as they fired it for a brief period, probably 2 to 5 minutes, they will look to move.
America made their move a few days ago. Now the British government have decided to add to the supply of powerful mid-range missiles to the Ukrainian military. Tell me, as a former commander, how much of a game changer might that be?
It's potentially a very big move, because what we've seen over the last couple of weeks have been the Russian forces concentrating their effort in the Donbass in the east, and slowly and with enormous effort, they have ground their way into the Donbass. And at the heart of this has been the power of Russian artillery, which sits behind the Russian front line, typically 5 to 10 miles behind, and they've just pounded their way forward. So with the US and the UK giving these multiple launch rocket systems to the Ukrainian military, they will be able to hit back at that artillery at ranges up to about 50 miles, and that should very seriously dent the Russian ability to make progress in the way they have, provided the US and UK weapons get there quickly, in enough quantity, with enough ammunition, and with the training to use them properly.
Right, the Ukrainian leadership, you'll know, have given the British government the same assurance that they gave Joe Biden's White House a few days ago, and that is that these new mid-range missiles would not be used to strike targets on Russian soil. Now, is that a handicap to the Ukrainian effort?
Well, it is and it isn't. It is, from a military perspective, of course, it's a handicap, because the Russian military effort relies on bases of movement in Russia itself, and ordinarily you wouldn't declare those off limits. But in the context of a war which is between Russia and Ukraine, and a clear understanding that it's in no one's interest, not actually Ukraine's interest either, to extend this to a war between Russia and the West, and NATO in particular, then this limitation makes a lot more sense.
Can you give us a bit of a technical, without losing us all in the technicalities, Richard, some insight into how these weapons are used? How are they targeted as accurately as we're told they are targeted?
So the launch itself carries 12 missiles, and each missile has a range of about 50 miles, and it's GPS guided. So you send it to a very well-defined point on the planet. But the point you make is a very good one, is if the target is 45, 50 miles away, then you have to see it. And the Ukrainians will see that target through a combination of drones and of special forces on the ground providing target information. But for them to work, you have to know where the target is. And if the target is artillery, Russian artillery, then it can be located by things like radars that are designed to do that. But one way or another, you have to find that target before you can shoot at it.
And just to delve a little deeper into the technicalities of this, and again, I say apologise, I can't really apologise for the music in the background. It's part of a demonstration which is taking place on College Green in honour, I suppose, of the occasion. I mean, it's their right, it's the demonstrators' right to protest exactly as they are doing, and hopefully it's not too much of a distraction for those listening. Now, a lot of the artillery which is to be targeted, the weaponry which these weapons are to be used to take out, they're very mobile, aren't they? So forgive a real layman's question, but if you're dealing with mobile artillery, is it still perfectly possible to strike it?
Yes, it is. So none of these Russian weapon systems fire on the move, and both sides will be adopting a tactic whereby they set up their gun or rocket artillery, and then they fire it, and then as soon as they fired it for a brief period, probably 2 to 5 minutes, they will look to move. And the trick is to fire back before they have moved, or to know where they have actually moved on to. So a combination of targeting systems, people on the ground, radars that see the guns and rockets firing, and drones will be able to follow the artillery. But this is absolutely a game for both sides of, in the jargon, shooting and scooting, moving on before you get caught.
Okay, shooting and scooting. Let me just finish up with a broader strategic question. We saw the French leader, Emmanuel Macron, saying over the weekend it was important not to humiliate President Putin, the Russian leader. What did you think of that? Is that a sensible thing to say? Because arguably, to Putin's ears, that will be a sign of weakness, of resolve.
So I think on the one hand, there should be absolutely no doubt that the West needs Russia to lose this war in Ukraine. That is in our interest of our security, our prosperity, and our values. But then there will come a day when the fighting stops, and if you have demonized your opponent or humiliated him, then that deal can become harder. So the strategic point that President Macron, I hope, was making was that there will come a point where we have to negotiate. But when we negotiate, it must be because Ukraine has actually won. We just don't need to rub Russia's nose in it at that point.